Hey, this is Reddit Stories. I am reading stuff. Today we will be continuing with r/PettyRevenge. Hit the subscribe button if you're new here. Now sit back and enjoy the stories. Personal satisfaction against annoying robocallers. I set my fax machine to continuously redial the same 800 number and never end until it got to send a fax. Since it wasn't a fax line, it redialed for months on end. My office manager asked me why I did that, and I explained to him that an 800 call is basically a collect call for the person receiving it. In other words, a toll-free call is paid for by the person who answers the phone. There are outgoing 800 numbers also, but they pay for those calls as well. So what I was doing was calling an 800 number 24/7 that pissed me off, and they had to pay for my phone calls. If you enjoyed this video so far, don't forget to like and subscribe to help us make more videos. I kept getting collection calls for someone else, wouldn't stop until I left messages for their CEO and CFO at home. I lived in a corporate relocation apartment for 3 months while relocating for a job. I started getting collection calls for the previous occupant almost immediately. They called multiple times a day. It would wake up my kids during naps, after bedtime, weekends, you name it. I started by politely letting them know I wasn't the person they were looking for, nicely, rudely, begging, you name it. They were incredibly rude and refused to tell me their names, name of their supervisor, etc. I was at my wit's end. After one particularly nasty encounter, I snapped. I started Googling, pre-Google equivalent, their corporate officers, etc. I found that the CEO and CFO had very unusual names and quickly discovered they had publicly listed phone numbers. Yes, it was not a huge bank, and this was early 2000s before people were exclusively using cell phones. This was approximately 8 p.m. on a Sunday night. I called each number explaining that since I kept receiving collection calls from their company in spite of not being the person that they sought, every time they called me, I would call them. Left my phone number and name and hung up. Not even 10 minutes later I got a call from their IT department asking for all the pertinent info, who the customer was, my name and how to spell it. I never got a call from them again. I hope someone got fired. Watch TV at work instead of actually doing your job? Good luck getting the remote back. So I'm a bit of an airhead, alright? I zone out at work from time to time, but the jerk I just closed with at work makes me look like the world's best employee. For context, we work in a sort of cafe inside a pretty big grocery store. The cafe itself is tiny, but we have a lot going on. We have a salad assembly counter, 2 deep fryers, and a lot of other things that need to be done over the course of a day. I come in this morning to discover that one of the 2 people I was supposed to be working with had called off, and it was just me and the jerk. I jumped right into making salads, and he jumped right on the TV. Time passes. I'm manning the deep fryers, making salads in between dropping batches of chicken tenders, and cashing most of the customers out. This dude just stood in his little area and watched TV. Occasionally he'd check out a customer or 2, but that was the extent of it. It's been about 4 hours by the point I get completely fed up with him, and I sit him down and ask him what he's doing. He's all, what, I'm just doing my job, at me. I tell him he needs to start doing actual work, and he nods and cuts me off mid-sentence. I gave him enough time to get back to his corner, and I grabbed the TV remote and shut off the TV in the middle of the show he was watching. Then I tucked the, relatively small, remote in my bra and waited for him to say something. It didn't take long for him to process what I'd just done and exclaim, "What are you doing?" I politely informed him that I was sick of having to do almost all of the work and I wouldn't be giving the remote back until the end of the shift when everything was cleaned up. The look on his face was absolutely worth it. We made it through the rest of the shift and he picked up a bit more of the slack as time progressed. He's not a bad kid, but he's definitely not fun to work with. My grandpa, the malicious pot farmer. The story starts at Easter dinner at my grandparents' house. The dinner discussion turned to the feud. They have been feuding with their neighbors for the better part of a decade. I forget how all that started, but Grandpa's biggest objection to their lifestyle was that they were growing pot right at the property line last summer, and with it becoming legal to grow here, Canada, he figured it was going to get worse. So in a "F you" move that would make every old grump smile, he planted a crop of his own, right along the property line. He did everything right, babied those things, with one important deviation from the norm: he pulled the females. For the uninitiated, cannabis flowers are gendered. Female flowers have all the fun stuff, THC, males have pollen. Usually you kill a male plant on sight because if it pollinates your female flowers you get seeds instead of THC. Hit the subscribe button for more daily Reddit content and press the bell icon to get notified when a new video is uploaded. Also, if you liked the video, give it a thumbs up, it really does help the channel. If you have any ideas, suggestions, let us know in the comment section. See you in the next one.